Diablo 4 just got some fresh news hot right off the press. We have a first inside look at some developer updates, including legendaries, leveling speed, class balancing, a huge developer update live stream coming up this month in April, some key player stats in the beta, and the map size in comparison to the live game come June. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the Comeback Kids have done a total of 3 Diablo 4 game copy giveaways so far, so don't forget to stick around until the end of the video to see how you can earn a free copy for yourself. Okay, starting right off, we have tons of people from the open beta talking and asking questions about if gaining XP in the Diablo 4 beta is accelerated, or possibly if it's going to be the normal speed they will gain XP in the full version. And Rod Ferguson replied, the game balance is a journey, not a destination. Now, this isn't a direct answer about what we are actually getting come launch, but it could lead us to the point that it is going to be different come launch day. And something to significantly help with the leveling speed, as well as the way you kill creatures and bosses, is going to be at the rate at which you get legendary armor and weapons, because as you know, once you get some of your key legendary aspects, it's a major power spike for most builds. If you all played some of the beta, you could agree that you would get legendaries at quite a faster rate. A Twitter post directed at Rod Ferguson asked, can you guys please confirm if drop rates are increased for the beta? It takes a simple yes or no and alleviates some concerns people have. Rod Ferguson replied that they are tuned higher, and yes, it's to give a fuller experience and better test during the beta. So pretty much what this means is that for beta only, they tuned up the XP as well as the legendary drop rate so they can allow players to test more to see what might be a little overtuned and what legendaries and classes overall might be undertuned without them. This can lead to a lot of reasons why some classes feel weaker and more reliant on gear and aspects than some of the other classes. A couple perfect examples of this is going to be between the Barbarian and the Druid. The second both of these classes were available to everyone, news was flooded across YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter, stating that they were simply very weak and underpowered while leveling, which is going to be a major part of your journey and playthrough of Diablo 4. And this is something they're definitely looking to avoid. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen the clips of Barbarians completely one-shotting elite bosses and flying through dungeons, as well as Druids performing very well with all their legendary aspects and gear upgraded. But this is not going to be a realistic scenario at all to be facing in Diablo until the near end game. On launch, you're going to be looking and scraping for legendaries, and unless these issues and problems are addressed, these classes are going to struggle much more than their peers, the Rogue, Sorcerer, and Necromancer. One of the biggest signs of these two classes in particular that alleviates some of the stress and pressure is the fact that they didn't have access to their quest storylines yet to give them additional features to the class themselves. Rod Ferguson was asked, I need to know how good is Druid after level 25, in which he replied, it's fun, you have to get into Scotland in order to use the Druid specialization of the Spirit Animal Attunement. This is pretty much Rod Ferguson in a nice way saying that everyone needs to relax because you haven't even seen the class with its Spirit Boon power yet, so we can definitely assume that the Druid and Barbarian are going to get some definite power spikes heading into launch with having access to their full class. People do need to understand that heading into launch, we are looking at much more content overall. Fractured Peaks takes up only 1/5 of the total map, and that's not even including the Hell Zone. Even if you combine all the maps from Diablo 1, 2, and 3, it still doesn't equal the size of Diablo 4 in total. Another massive bonus is the fact that the Associate Game Director Joseph Piapiora stated on Twitter, I don't think folks realize how many more legendary powers exist beyond what was on display during the Diablo 4 beta. There are a lot of bizarre, exciting, and totally balanced legendaries to discover when the game goes live in June. A fan replied, do you mean that the beta didn't show us the other legendary powers on the list? Or that we just didn't have access to them because they were not set to have a drop rate in the beta, but they still existed in the aspects list? Joseph replied, the Codex of Power contains less than half of all the possible legendary powers that can be found in Diablo 4. Plenty more legendaries can be found later in the game experience. This just goes to prove that we actually haven't even come to test and play barely any of the game and have only scratched the surface of what has been shown to us overall. Simply only one zone, 3 strongholds, some dungeons, and a world boss. And even that took us over 2 weekends to even come close to completing, so Diablo 4 is not a game that is going to be lacking content and build diversity when it comes to the game's overall long-term health. Another massive announcement this month for Diablo fans in April is that the community development director Adam Fletcher announced that he's getting a lot of questions about the next developer update stream, and that is going to be in April where they're going to have a special guest. This is particularly going to be a very big live stream because they're going to be talking about progression and endgame systems in Diablo 4, which we don't really have much information on other than the players back in the fall testing it out. They're going to be discussing some beta learnings and findings, and potentially even tuning some classes and abilities, as well as aspects also. Now, we do have to remember that they're going through all the changes and the submitted feedback through thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of players, and it's going to take a long time for them to scrub through and try to tune and clean up everything for a successful launch. They also did make it very clear that the open beta is just that. It's not a fully fledged game that is prepared for launch, and that it was there for players to test out the servers, as well as the game's early levels to make sure everything's finely tuned. Now, if you're asking me personally, I think there are definitely going to be some issues come launch day no matter what happens. I mean, the amount of people trying to flood into Sanctuary and play Diablo 4 all at once come June is going to be immense, so don't expect the game to be buttery smooth and clean come launch day. I would definitely lower some of your expectation and expect some queues or even disconnects overall while you're playing. A fan posted on Twitter asking, I would love to know if there's any gameplay or design changes that stem from Diablo for the weekends. I think I just want to know whether or not playing or my feedback contributed to anything. But yeah, Barbarian just felt super slow leveling. Zaven Haratunian replied, yep, give us a few weeks, you'll hear more from us soon. This definitely leads us to believe that come the April live stream, they're going to make some nice announcements towards player feedback and some major class issues and concerns heading into Diablo 4 for launch come June. A massive question many fans had during the beta was about skill intensity, and Daniel Briggs, who's the associate art director and does VFX on Diablo 4, stated that, yes, this is in the game, and the beta is limited to level 25. There is a ton of additional content, especially at higher world tiers, and your skill intensity is based on your skill points and legendary affixes for the skill. The total rank that a skill can get to includes plus 5 points you could spend onto your skill tree before you cap it out, plus 6 points from a skill point affix, plus 3 points from a skill category affix, and plus 4 points from extremely rare redacted. He also stated that modifying the size of a skill can come from many different sources as well. Skill points from certain skills, legendary items, legendary paragon nodes, and glyphs. This is going to be awesome for you as the player when you have a certain ability that you absolutely love to use, like the Sorcerer's Incinerate spell or the Barbarian's Hammer of Ancients or Deathblow spell. Seeing increase in size as well as effects and animations is going to be very satisfying if that's the build you're going to go. It's also definitely going to increase the performance of a certain build depending on how many skill points you can actually invest into it, leading us to believe that certain builds will perform better at late game stages rather than early game. Lastly, we just wanted to talk about some simple stats the developer shared with us, including the total hours played in the beta being over 61 million hours, and having 2.6 million players receive the beta wolf pack, and over 50 million deaths on players worldwide. And my favorite stat is the most classes being played are the Necromancer and the Sorcerer. Now, personally, I would love a number on how many players actually participated in the beta overall to see if it's going to be popular or if people are very interested in the game at its current state, but these are still great stats to show the community as well as players that a lot of people were playing the game at the time. These next 2 months are going to be very tough for Diablo fans overall because they're going to be withdrawing from the game and wishing they were back in Sanctuary, with even the developers posting some funny memes about it. By the way, there's a brand new Xbox Series X bundle for Diablo 4 that looks absolutely incredible if you guys are interested in that. And back to the giveaway, the Comeback Kids are doing a giveaway for a free copy of Diablo 4. So if y'all are interested, please go to the link in the description below to see more information on how you could win a copy yourself. That's going to be all from me, ladies and gentlemen. And until the very end, my name's Sky from the Comeback Kids. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.